Welcome to Metroland, Uxbridge and South Ruislip, on the western fringes of London, and home, of course, in a constituency sense, to our Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. For the moment. The reason we're here, of course, is that there's been a rumour that Boris is getting a bit frit about Uxbridge and South Ruislip. He won the seat with an enormous majority back in 2015, around about 11,000. But that majority was cut by more than half at the 2017 election. His majority now is a very precarious 5,000 or so, and it's Labour who is in second place. And there's been the suspicion that Labour and the Lib Dems could put their many differences aside and one of the candidates stand down to have a clear run at the man who they believe is the architect of all that is evil in this country, Boris Johnson. So all they would need to beat Boris is to close that 5,000 gap. And if the Liberals stood down, they'd be pretty much there. A short poem on the possibility of Boris Johnson declining to fight the once safe seat of Uxbridge and South Ruislip, and with apologies to John Betjeman. Gaily out of Ruislip Gardens runs the red electric train. On it, sweating in the twilight, he with the albino mane. Bags half packed and in a hurry, off to Bridlington or Surrey. Where is Bridlington again? Leafy Ruislip went for Brexit. Leafy Ruislip's changed its mind. They voted once for Boris's chutzpah, but may now be less inclined. Find a safe seat in the Shires, where love for Brexit never tires. Leave this Metroland behind. So, Uxbridge and South Ruislip, what's it like? The edge of London, heading towards the Chilterns, a large and incredibly mixed population, not a homogenous stockbroker belt seat by any stretch of the imagination. There's a strong Labour vote here, a large immigrant community, particularly in parts of Hillingdon, and also a big Lib Dem vote. One of the interesting things, supposedly, is that at the time of the referendum, this area, Uxbridge and South Ruislip, voted to leave. Not by much, only by a very narrow margin indeed, so far as we can tell, because the vote was in Hillingdon, of course, didn't quite correspond with the constituency. The argument since then, and there's been quite a few polls to show this, is that it's tilted round, and that Ruislip particularly, but Ruislip and Uxbridge, is now opposed to leaving the European Union by 5 or 6%, which is a big swing. How will that affect Boris? Hello, mate.
Hi, sir. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. What way are you voting then?
I'm actually from Birmingham.
You're not allowed to vote here then?
I'm not.
You can't unseat Boris.
I can have a part in people understanding that the European Union is a really good project, making peace in Europe for everybody to settle down in. It's a wonderful, wonderful project.
Who's your drug dealer? Do you have a drug dealer? Sorry, right.
I do.
You do.
My drug dealer is reading up stuff on the internet.
Reading up stuff on the internet.
And
okay.
reading history books about how bad Europe was. But basically, the EU is a jolly good project, helping Europe to settle down.
So what are you doing? What are you doing here?
Well, I'm here because Boris is the MP. He has a modest majority of 5,000 and something. So I'm wanting to encourage people to understand my take, which is, I think, the authentic take on Europe, that it's a project, as Donald Tusk says, it's a peace project and a life of peace.
Lovely to speak to you. I hope all your wishes fail abysmally, but it's nice to hear them. Excuse me, no, it's interesting. So people are really odd these days, aren't they? It's especially in London. If you do Vox Pops up north, Vox Pops obviously never tell you anything. It's a total waste of time. But if you do them up north, everyone goes, oh, I'd love to say something. Down here, it's no, off. It's a futile thing. But I'm doing them for you, to show you how futile they are. You voted in the election?
Don't vote, mate.
Don't vote?
No.
What about this time? You don't want to talk about it? Thanks, mate.
Right.
Cheers. What a word.
Oh, no, actually, I'm really late.
Are you? You're really late. We're all late. What are you late for? You're not going to work dressed like that. Are you voting in the election?
Yes, I will be voting. Yes.
And who will you be voting for?
Why?
Will you be voting for Boris Johnson?
No,
Definitely
I
not.
won't be voting for him.
Right. So you wanted to stay in the EU, did you? And
Yes, I want to stay in the EU.
are you usually a conservative, or
No, I've never been a conservative.
never been a conservative?
And I'll
yes.
never be one.
So if Labour and the Lib Dems got together to put up one candidate,
Yeah,
that might have a chance of beating Boris, might it?
that's correct.
Is that what you hope will happen?
I hope that's what happens.
Right. Okay. Brilliant. Thanks a lot,
Thank
mate.
you.
Are you going to be voting in the election? No, you won't bother voting.
We are not allowed to vote in Brexit because we are from Nepal.
Are you from Nepal? But have you not got citizenship yet then?
Not yet.
But you will do soon.
Hope so.
Good luck, mate. Take care. I think we want more Gurkhas voting in the elections, not fewer. Do you feel attracted to Boris Johnson, your MP?
Yeah,
You like him?
yeah,
Good. So you might end up voting for him.
yeah.
I'm getting worse action than the Jehovah's Witnesses. Do you understand that? Excuse me, Rod Liddle from the Sunday Times, talking about the election.
English, thank you.
Don't you? You did that all right. Well, it's quite good. You know who your MP is, presumably, here?
Oxford is Johnson, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. You're going to vote for him?
Yeah.
You like him, do you?
I like him.
Yeah.
He's best from the worst.
It's best from the worst. There's a rumour at the moment that he might not stand here because he might get turfed out.
The policies are the same, aren't they?
Yeah, the
Just-
policies are the same. Would you still be happy
I wish
voting
they got
Tory?
rid of some people down there.
Right. So were you for leaving the EU?
Yeah, I vote for the Leave, yeah.
Yeah.
I vote for the Leave.
Right.
That's a good thing to do.
You'd vote for Boris, would you, if he was
I
standing?
vote for Boris, yes, because I don't believe that we have to give our sovereignty for the trade.
Would you ever vote for the Brexit party?
No.
No. All right.
That's too much extreme.
Okay, brilliant.
We got it in the centre.
Well, nice talking to you,
Nice
mate.
talking to you
Take
too.
care. Right, I've had enough now. Come on. Let's go to the pub. If Boris doesn't stand and ends up in, as has been suggested, Bridlington or somewhere in Surrey, then it doesn't matter so much if Uxbridge and South Ruislip goes away from the Tories and the Lib Dems or Labour wins it. But if Boris is standing, this is going to be one of the really interesting seats to watch out for on polling night. Just imagine, the Conservatives win a majority and the Prime Minister doesn't have a seat. More fun times.